back. My name is Holly, and today we are going to be talking about all of the books that I read in April and May. I thought that April was a terrible reading month for me, and I was honestly convinced that I only read like 2 books in April. I don't know why, because I actually read 5 books. My April stats are 5 books, 1,712 pages. My average rating was 3.5 stars. I read 2 fiction, 1 science fiction, 1 romance, and 1 fantasy. So I think it's just because none of these books were like super memorable to me, and that's what made me think that I didn't actually read as much in April. Like, I was looking over what I read, and some of them I totally forgot that I read. Like, totally did not even remember. So let's talk about it. The first book that I read in April was none other than Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. If you have been living under a rock and you don't know what this book is about, this is actually a second prequel in the Hunger Games series. So there's the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which talks about President Coriolanus Snow as a child, and it kind of talks about the 10th Hunger Games. And then this is talking about Katniss and Peeta's mentor Haymitch and the second quarter quell, which is the year that Haymitch won the Hunger Games. And then obviously the 3 Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Mockingjay. Who am I? Anyway, I had such high hopes for this book. I thought this was going to be the easiest 5-star ever. Not the case, unfortunately. I think for me, honestly, I just had completely different expectations than what was delivered in this book, so maybe that's my fault, but I was really expecting to see maybe a little bit of Haymitch's games, but I was more interested in what happens after his games, and I wanted to see him interacting with other victors, and I wanted to see his like spiral into alcoholism and just like how tragic it was for him to have to get to know new tributes every year and just know that you're basically sending them to their death. Like, that's what I wanted to see. That's the Haymitch that I wanted to see. This was just Hunger Games again. The reason that Ballad and Songbirds of Snakes worked for me was because, yes, we got another Hunger Games, but it wasn't from a tribute's perspective. It was from an outsider's perspective, the person who kind of like made the games into what they are in the present. This literally followed the same like sequencing as the first Hunger Games book, which was really disappointed because I've already read it. I've already read the Hunger Games. So this one just felt like I didn't really get much out of it, and there were just way too many like name drops and references to other characters and events in the rest of the series. It just felt like a little much. Like, I would not have been surprised, and I still wouldn't be surprised if you told me that this was actually ghostwritten by a fan and it wasn't actually Suzanne Collins. I know it was, but this, just the level of writing even, is a full step below the other 4 books. I don't really know what happened. I'm really disappointed in this one, but specifically with the plot, a lot of the things that you learn, I feel, are too convenient and honestly don't make sense when you look at the big picture. Like, I know everyone's like, oh, like, you connect the dots, it's so good. Not really. Also, does she think we're stupid? Because so much of this book was spelled out for you. Like, there was nothing to infer. There was nothing to make connections. Like, it was just all there for us, which is really frustrating because I like being able to have those like, oh, this character's related to this character, or oh, this happens and that's what they're talking about in the next book. Like, I like to make those connections on my own. Suzanne didn't even give me the chance. She just made all of the connections for me. That being said, I feel like I've just crapped on this book for like 5 minutes straight, but I still enjoyed it. I really like the Hunger Games world. I gave it, did I give it 3 or 3.5? I think I gave it 3.5 Honestly, upon reviewing how I felt about this book, I would probably drop it down to a 3 because I enjoyed it. I really liked reading it, and I would recommend it, honestly, to anyone who's reading the Hunger Games series. Like, you gotta read this one. But it's just not what I was expecting, and it's just the quality is significantly lower than the rest of the series. The next book that I read, I listened on Audible, and it was called The Descent of Angels by Mitchell Scanlon. This is a part of the Horus Heresy series that I am reading. I've mentioned it in a few other wrap-ups. It is essentially a huge 55-book long series that covers like 10,000 years in a science fiction world. So it's set super far in the future, space, all of that stuff. Descent of Angels was very reminiscent of like the Knights of the Round Table and King Arthur and all of that stuff. So I really enjoyed the storytelling of it. The writing was beautiful. The end totally didn't make sense to me. But the first like 60, 70, honestly even 80%, I was in love with it. So I gave it 4.5 stars. I thought this was really, really good. Absolutely obsessed. I just don't understand the ending. Next is one of the books that I forgot that I read. And when I looked at it, I had to go and look up the book's synopsis to even remember what it was about. And that is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This is the 3rd or 4th Emily Henry book that I've read, and I think I've just finally come to terms with the fact that I'm not an Emily Henry fan. I'm not a reader. I'm not her target audience, I guess. In People We Meet on Vacation, Alex and Poppy have been friends for like, I don't know, 10, 14 years, something, a long time. And every year they go on vacation together, and that's like their thing. Well, at the start of the book, you realize that they haven't even like spoken for the past 2 years, and it's this big like mystery to figure out why they're not talking. Are they gonna make up? Are they gonna fall in love? So kind of like childhood friends to lovers, I guess. But it just didn't work for me. Not one single thing. It was just the whole book was miscommunication. Like the whole book was miscommunication and immature decisions and just emotional immaturity as a whole. We spent way too much time talking about like the setting and like the vacations that they took, and not enough time developing their character traits and their romance. And I just really didn't like any of the characters. Yeah, so sorry about that, but I gave it 2 stars, and I'm probably done with Emily Henry. The next book I read is A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabaa Tahir. This is the 4th and final book in the Ember of the Ashes series. Is that what it's called? An Ember in the Ashes series. I don't know. I was very glad to have finished the series. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I can't talk too much about this book specifically, but I did appreciate how a lot of things wrapped up, and I'm very satisfied with the ending and how the characters, like how we said goodbye to all of the characters. So I ended up giving this one 3.5. I then read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This book is about these best friends who create video games together. And it's definitely just like a fiction following them through childhood into adulthood and kind of navigating life, friendships, relationships, how to work together, all of that sort of thing. Also, beautiful sprayed edges and beautiful cover. That's why I got this one actually, was just because it was so pretty. I think that this book was written in a very interesting way. I did enjoy it, but I just feel like this was not the book for me. I don't really have many critiques on the book itself. It's just the content was not something that I necessarily vibed with, and I just found myself reading it to finish it. You know, like I wasn't super excited to pick it up. I wasn't dreading it. Like I was enjoying myself when I was reading it, but I forgot I read it, if I'm being honest. So this one was not memorable. I gave it 3 stars. If that sounds like something you're interested in, definitely read it. I know a lot of people who've had really, really good experiences with this book. It was just not for me, honestly. Those are all of the books that I read in April. Let's move on to May. In May, I read 7 books, which was 2,639 pages. My average rating was, again, a 3.5. And of those 7 books, 4 were fantasy, 1 was fiction, 1 was romance, and 1 was science fiction. A Man Called Ove, which, okay, I listened to the audiobook in the beginning, and that's how the narrator pronounced this. I was pronouncing it A Man Called Ove. I know the like movie with, is it Tom Hanks, pronounces, or they just changed the name to A Man Called Otto, but I'm gonna say Uwe because that's how it was pronounced in the audiobook. I don't know if it's right or not, but this is by Frederick Bachman. I wanted to love this book so much. I thought that I was gonna give it 4 or 5 stars just because the premise is so sweet and so cute. So basically, all I knew about this book, I didn't actually read the back. I just watched the trailer for the movie and then went out and got the book. But basically, it's about this old man who is like your stereotypical like grumpy old man, and he is going through like a lot of really significant life changes that he's maybe kind of not really prepared for. It's just a very beautiful story of finding community again, and it's very like found family, very sweet. The neighbors next door are just determined to make him like them. Like, it was just so heartwarming, and you got a lot of past and present points of view. You get to see him grow up. You start to understand why he is the way he is, which I thought was really sweet and endearing. However, I don't know. I really liked it. I think I just honestly picked it up at a bad time. Like I said, this was April, so I was feeling like I was in a slump after like the past few books that I had read. So I think this is just a case of like, I picked it up at the wrong time. I wasn't really in the mood for this book. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars because I really did like the idea of it, but it just didn't like grab and hold my attention. But I would recommend it, and I still haven't watched the movie. I need to because this was really, really sweet. Now we are moving into a lot of Kindle books that I read, so I don't have the physical copies. I went on Kindle Unlimited and picked up The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. Are you kidding me? I loved this book. This book has been on my radar for, I'm not even kidding, probably like over a year, and I just never really got around to it. I loved it so much. This is about a princess who is raised to become like a spy assassin type girl, and she gets married off to the neighboring kingdom's like prince, or I guess king, with the full intention of taking down that kingdom from within. So she's undercover, stakes are high, there's a little bit of romance developing, but this book had me sweating. It had me on the edge of my seat. I could not put it down. Every time that I wasn't, like the entire time that I wasn't reading it, I was thinking about it, and I was like imagining what was gonna happen next, and I just wanted to be reading it. So, so good. This like honestly was the book that got me out of my slump and that had me reading again, like ferociously reading again. So, so, so amazingly good. I ended up giving it 4, honestly I might even give it 4.5 stars. Because there was really very little criticism that I had with it, and I wanted to immediately dive into the rest of the series because there's like 5 or 6 books in the series, but none of the others are on Kindle Unlimited, and they're not at my library, so I'm gonna have to buy them. But I loved these books so much that I'm not even mad about it. I will buy them. I'm very excited to finish the series. Another Kindle Unlimited read for me was The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. I went into this book completely blind, as in like I did not know even what genre it is. I did not know what it was about. I knew nothing, okay? I just knew that everyone that had read it loved it. I did not realize that Jessa Hastings also wrote the Magnolia Parks series, and I have not read that, but I know about it, and I know that it is not the series for me. Had I made that connection, I might have done a little bit more research into this book before reading it, but I didn't, and I didn't hate my experience. But again, I just think this book, not for me. I'm not the intended audience. Let me explain what it's about. So our main character, Georgia, is a like behavior analyst in that she can read people's facial expressions and their body language and determine whether or not they're lying. Very interesting, right? I'm intrigued. Well, she has to go home, which she hasn't been home in like, I don't know, a decade, because her family is extremely dysfunctional, toxic, abusive, terrible, terrible, awful. So she goes home and there's a mystery that they kind of have to unravel that pertains to her dad's will, because the reason that she has to go home is for her dad's funeral. So there's this mystery that's attached to the will that they have to kind of uncover, and there's a little bit of romance in the side plot. Overall, I was just so thoroughly annoyed and disappointed and frustrated with so much of what happened in that book. Check trigger warnings. I didn't. I should have. Check the trigger warnings. Basically, every single character was irredeemable in my opinion, including the main character. And that would have been fine because it's like realistic for people to be terrible human beings. Like, I get that. Except that the book was written and the characters treated Georgia as if there was nothing wrong with her and like she was the perfect one of the whole family. She wasn't. Like, I have serious issues with many things that she said and did, and I was not impressed by these characters. It was a good story for the most part. I gave it 2.5 stars because 2 stars seemed a little too harsh. It wasn't a bad book. I just didn't like any of it. If you want me to go a little bit more in detail about this one or The Bridge Kingdom, I actually have a reading vlog up that I talk about both of those in a lot more detail. I then listened to Battle for the Abyss by Ben Counter. This is another book in that Horus Heresy series. So it's science fiction. Not really going to go too much into it. I was not impressed with this book. I gave it 3 stars. It was like 80% combat and 20% unimportant background conversation. I was just not impressed. It was still interesting, like it was fun to listen to, but I'm never gonna think about it again. The next book I read is called The Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayrer. I think I'm saying that right. This book is not young adult. Let me just start there. However, you almost have to pretend that it is in order to get any sort of enjoyment out of it. Like, this book is cringy, okay? It's cheesy. But I kind of liked it. Like, I kind of was able to lean into it, and I found it very silly. The writing was very humorous. We get dual point of view, and I really liked it. I found the plot to be very compelling, even though, I mean, let's be real. The writing is not good, okay? Lots of typos, lots of things just, like, it's very, very shallow. Like, we don't really dive into any of the characters or any of the, like, plot. Like, it's all just very surface level. But I liked it still. I think based on what I knew about the book, I went into it expecting that. I don't know why, but I just knew that it was, like, a comedy, and I don't read comedies, so this was a entirely new experience for me, and I think that might be part of the reason that I liked it, is I haven't really read anything like it. So I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was cute. I thought it was funny. If you can just kind of lean into the cringe and the cheesiness of it, I think you'd like it. Then I picked up The Book Eaters by Sunyi Dean. I have not really seen anyone talk about this book. I saw it for the first time, I almost said it in theaters. I saw it for the first time at Barnes & Noble, like, I want to say a year to a year and a half ago. And I thought the idea was very intriguing. And I just now got around to reading it. So shout out to my friend Brittany for getting this for me. Thank you, I loved it. But basically this book is about, it is a fantasy, and it is about this group of people called book eaters. As the title suggests, they eat books, which, let me just say, I thought that entire concept was so unique and so intriguing. Like, I wanted to be a book eater. The way that the author describes the way that books taste is evocative the right word? Like, I could taste it. Like, I was right there eating the books with them. Like, it was very, very, she was just very good at describing what was going on. When book eaters eat books, they retain all of the knowledge that was in that book. So instead of reading, they just eat, which I thought was really cool. Our main character, Devin, is a book eater kind of on the run because her son is what's called a mind eater. And mind eaters don't eat books, they eat brains. So similarly to how book eaters can retain all the knowledge that's inside a book, mind eaters kind of take on the personality and the memories and the knowledge of the persons whose brain they eat. So without going into too much detail, this book follows that little family on the run, but also talks a lot about family dynamics and like larger societal dynamics of the book eaters. And it was just a very interesting book. Like, I have not, like I said, not read anything like it. Highly recommend. It looks short, but there are so many words on every page. It took me forever to read it, but it was really, really good. I gave it 4 stars. Next, I read Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. This is another book, it's on Kindle Unlimited, that I have had my eye on for the past like 1.5 to 2 years. And I just never was in the mood for it, I guess, but I finally was, and I'm so glad that I read it. This is a fantasy. It's the first in a trilogy, I believe, the War of Lost Hearts trilogy, and I thought it was incredible. The world building was very immersive. The characters made a lot of sense, and I just really found a lot of the characters to be very endearing. Our main character, Tisana, she was a slave as a child, and then she moves to a different country. She like escapes to a different country and starts training her magic because she wants to be able to go back to the country she was a slave in and liberate all the other slaves. So she ends up working with this trainer, Max. It was just so interesting. It was a really interesting type of magic. I haven't really seen a magic system like this, but I was really, really enjoying it. And if you're a fan of slow burn romance, this is slow burn to the point where I thought maybe they were just gonna stay friends. You know what I mean? Like, I was satisfied with it because they were so good as friends. But it's so good. I loved this book. 4 stars. Those are all of the books that I read in April and May. If you are interested in hearing more of my thoughts on these books, you can check out my Goodreads or my Fable. Both are linked down below. I went into a little bit more detail in my reviews there. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you have any questions or comments or book suggestions for me to read, go ahead and let me know in the comments. I love reading what you guys have to say. Please like this video if you did, and make sure that you subscribe so that I can see you in the next one. Mwah. Bye!